And tonight we have the May 28th meeting of the Conservation Commission. Will stand and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Holly Cummings, 173 Atlantic Ave Trust, 173 Atlantic Ave, Christine Root, 177 Atlantic Ave, septics. Is that all one septic or is that multiple?
Two septic,
You guys don't know how to move lines? Oh.
If you want, I can describe them both at the same time.
Well, it looks like one on here, Lenny, but now that I see that, we don't know how to use the enterprise, but we did it.
Which was first?
173. Yeah.
How you doing?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I gave you a nice little, to give you the perspective of a drone.
Were you flying the drone?
I just purchased one for you guys, just so I can
Did you?
eavesdrop on everybody.
I see you flying over the house all the time. All my ops.
Okay,
Don't take over your
I'm over here for 173 Atlantic Avenue Trust, on Atlantic Avenue on Westport Harbor. We have an existing home shown on the plan. We have an existing cesspool located on the Atlantic Avenue side of the home right here. Then I've done a perk gas out front, and I designed a system for a 3-bedroom home, which is what it is now. Resource area, we have the top of the coastal beach, and we have a 100-foot buffer zone like so in yellow. I'm gonna put a septic tank on the east side of the house and pipe it into the proposed leaching field. And the water table is relatively high, it's 55 inches, but it's gonna be raised on, so I have some grade which will go just slightly into the buffer zone by about 10 feet. But it's all I got to work with. This is a quasi-public water system, Westport Aqueduct. That's pretty much it.
Next slide.
Mr. Chairman, members, I did put an aerial around. These houses are side by side, so 173, I think you can see the addresses on the aerial. Holly Cummings, 173 Atlantic Avenue. This is a request for determination of applicability filed by Westport Environmental Design. May 21st, 2024 is the report date. Site visit was also on May 21st, 2024. Detailed description of the work. The applicant is filed to repair and replace existing cesspool with a new Title V design. Site is located on the coastal beach off of Atlantic Avenue. Proposed work for the leaching field will be within the land subject to coastal storm flowage, velocity zone, elevation 20, and 100 feet away from the top of the coastal bank. The repair is an improvement to the current system. Erosion controls will be installed around the work location and shall remain until the area is stabilized. As Lenny mentioned, this is a pre-existing use, so they're entitled to repair the system as best as situated on the property. I think he has shown that this is a good location for that proposal. So recommendations, Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed septic repair for 173 Holly Cummings, 173 Atlantic Avenue, with a negative box 2 determination. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
No, any comments on it? No. Any comments, questions from the table? No, motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion from Jay, second from Kevin. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous now. Next we have Christine Root, 177 Atlantic Avenue, septic repair.
Chattering in the audience, Mr. Chairman. I think we have to set the gavel down.
That's valid.
Joint Led Potter, Westport Environmental for Christine Root. Same situation, 173 is located over here. This is 177, and the house is located as such. The water line comes in from the street, one well, and out front we have the ocean and a 100-foot setback from the ocean to the coastal bank. The proposed system is going to go here, outside the buffer zone. Septic tank is going to go here, tank and pump chamber combined into this leaching field. Again, this one's raised some, but everything in this one is outside of the buffer zone except for the flood zone. Flood zone is the DE elevation 20, and that's the resource area that we're pretty much straightforward. That's it for me.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, this is Christine Root, 177 Atlantic Avenue. This is a request for determination of applicability filed by Westport Environmental Design. Report date is May 21st, 2024. The site visit was also on May 21st, 2024. Description of the work: the applicant has filed to repair and replace the existing cesspool with a new Title V design. The site is located on the coastal beach off of Atlantic Avenue. Proposed work for the leaching field be within the land subject to coastal storm flowage. This again is a VE elevation 20 area, and it'll be approximately 140 feet away from the top of that coastal bank. So as Lenny mentioned, it's further from that coastal resource area. The repair is an improvement to the current system. Erosion controls will be installed around the work location and shall remain until the area is stabilized. As I previously mentioned, under the regulations, these sites are allowed to repair as maximum extent feasible, which I believe he's shown tonight. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should approve the proposed septic repair for 177 Atlantic Avenue, Christine Route, with a negative box 2 determination.
Any questions, comments? Motion?
I move we approve the proposed septic repair with a negative box 2 determination.
Thank you, Bert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Tom? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So it's working out. Thank you, Len.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Bill.
Hearings, we have Edward Keene, notice of intent, 167, 169, Hicksbridge Road, SE 80 2749, construct garage and driveway in the buffer zone. How you doing?
Yourself?
Good.
Thanks. I did get these, but thank you again.
So, how goes?
That's for Keen.
Who's this one?
I put them in there.
Oh, there's a little more.
Yeah, those are just the real ones. Those are the ones I photocopied.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Good evening, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. This project has two elements to it, one jurisdictional, one is not. The notice of intent filings for the garage, which you see to the northern part of the plan, it is outside of the 25-foot buffer, requires no clearing for this, and there's already an existing gravel driveway that runs pretty much up to the site, so it's going to require minimal disturbance. The second part of the project outside of the jurisdiction, which is the majority of the plan, is an addition of an in-law apartment to the existing dwelling with a new septic system. Be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Bruce?
Thank you, Jamie. For the record, I didn't mention anything on the jurisdiction outside of our jurisdiction. I didn't mention those issues, but thank you for bringing that to the light. And what Jamie's representing is a septic repair, and there's an in-law setup or something going with the other section of the property. This is Ed Keene, 167 Hicksbridge Road. This is a notice of intent application filed by Jamie Bissonette from Zenith Consulting. The report date is May 21st, 2024. There is a file number with no adverse comments. It's SE 802749. Site visit was also on May 21st, 2024. Description of the work: the applicant owner has filed a notice of intent to construct a 30 by 30 unattached garage in the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The wetland was walked and determined to be accurately shown. The garage structure will be 37.5 feet from the edge of the wetland, maintaining a 25-foot setback. The area is an existing mowed lawn for this proposed location. A small gravel driveway will be connected to the existing garage, to the new garage. Buffer zone project, as I mentioned, so they're maintaining that 25-foot like the commission likes to have within their policies. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation Commission should approve with standard conditions for the unattached 30 by 30 garage. SE 802749 is the file number. And also, for the record, we mentioned that the project also entails a septic repair and other construction activities outside of the commission's jurisdiction.
you have any questions here? No. Is this near the horse farm? Like, is there a horse stable right around there?
Yeah, the horse farm is up closer to the road, yes. Correct, down just below this one. This is the old police chief's property. This driveway is just above that one.
All right. Do we have any questions from the table?
Morris, Wendell Morris property, that's what it used to be.
Any questions down there, gentlemen? Any questions from the audience? No questions, accept the motion.
So I'll move to approve the plan for the construction of an unattached 30 by 30 garage in the buffer zone.
Thank you, Phil. Do you have a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Bert. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, Phil. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah. Thomas Gamache, notice of intent, 238 to 242 East Beach Road, Reform Beach, Norristown. Anybody here, Mr. Gamache? Is this case going on tonight?
I can't hold people's hands, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll skip over that one. Cummings Lane Corp., notice of intent, Cummings Lane, rebuild existing stone wall in the riverfront flood zone. Anybody have Cummings Lane?
Cummings Lane, Mr. Chairman, I suggest a continuance to the second meeting in June. They are conferring with the association, redesigning. I have not heard anything from them in a couple weeks, so,
Was that 625?
I believe that may be the case. Leon, do you know what it is in June?
Yeah, it's a June 11th, so it's 6:25.
All right, 625. Okay, so we need to continue Cummings Lane Corp.
Thank you for your quick adding.
11 plus 14.
It's a quick processor, it's BlackBerry.
Cummings Lane Corp., notice of intent, Cummings Lane, rebuild the existing stone wall in the riverfront. We're going to continue that to 625 of 2024. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Tom. Do you have a second?
Yeah. Chris is
Second from
supposed to
Jason.
be inspecting it.
All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous, Leon. Continuing that one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes. Yeah.
All right.
We should answer.
Next, we have Paul and Melanie Baker, notice of intent, 3 Richmond Pond Drive. SE 802729, construct garage, upgrade septic system, modified driveway, grading, landscaping, and deck on dwelling in flood zone and buffer zone.
Good evening. Again, Jamie Bissonette, Zenith Consulting Engineers for the record. It was 2 meetings ago that I last appeared in front of you for this proposal. At that time, the commission had asked us to take a look into a couple of items. One was to look to see if we could do something for the roof or stormwater mitigation. So as you'll see on this revised plan, we've added in infiltration units, I believe they're Caltex, and they are designed to be able to handle and infiltrate the 100-year storm. Another question was regarding the second-story use over the proposed garage, whether it would be a bedroom or living space. And I sent Chris over some updated architectural plans that the builder has provided to me. And that shows that it's just going to be storage above the garage area. There's going to be, there'll be an empty room. We have no connections to any sewer or water going to that building as well. So that's it for my presentation.
Can you put a Caltech system in for the runoff? Is that what I saw on the plan? Okay. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, Paul and Melanie Baker, 3 Richmond Pond Lane. This is a continued hearing for a notice of intent filed by Zenith Engineering with Jamie Bissonette here tonight. The date of the report is May 24th, 2024. The file number is SE 802729. Site visit was also on May 24th, 2024. Description of the work: the owner has filed to construct an unattached garage and sewage disposal system in the flood zone and buffer zone to Richmond Pond. The site falls within a velocity zone, elevation 19 flood zone, and a proposed garage must be designed in accordance with building code for flood-prone areas. The structure will be constructed into the existing hill, require removing some material. The garage, as Jamie has revised these plans, will have breakaway walls designed for the lower level below elevation 19, as shown on these revised plans. The sewage disposal system is to be placed just within the edge of the two flood zones, the V zone and the A zone, on the rear of the property. The system is as far away from all resource area as is allowable. Roof runoff will be infiltrated for the new garage, as was a request from the previous discussions. And the garage plans represented as an attic space above with no bathroom proposed, as Mr. Bissonette also mentioned in his presentation. Those plans are obviously not for particular our concerns, but there was some questions from the neighboring property owners. So recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should approve of conditions the new plan dated April 30th, 2024, provided the garage must be built in accordance with FEMA regulations for flood-prone areas. All walls below flood elevation must be breakaway design. Roof runoff directed into a stone dry wells, as they have shown on the plan, and slope stabilization must be implemented with vegetation planted to maintain the area from eroding. And that's the area surrounding the cut that they're making for the garage. I would like to also mention, before a final motion may be taken, that there was a final abutter letter submitted to the commission. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you want to read it into record, but it brings up some points that I had mentioned previously, but I would ask that you do enter that for the record.
I'll read the highlighted sections, which are his questions. He had a question: new owners required to file a form with Mass DEP protection for the plans to expand the footprint of the current structure in the garage, which is the notice of intent, which they did file. Has Westport building official made a determination for the improvements made to the current structure and the proposal garage? And he continues to talk about taking the existing garage and turning it into living space, which my understanding, if it's in the flood zone, you cannot convert that to living space, but that is something that the building inspector has to make a determination on. That's not within our purview. So I think he may be correct on that. And then he was asked a question about permitting and roof runoff, which we addressed with the Cultec system that Zenith designed for the roof of the garage, and also the little swale system in the back for the hill. And that was the basic. Those are the main questions in here. So I think the only one that really goes unanswered is the residential code requiring allowing building in the floodplains or conversion of the floodplain, which again is not within our jurisdiction. That is for the building inspector, and I would suggest that this gentleman deal with the building inspector on that, because he may have a point with Mr. O'Donnell.
May I add to that, to the chair, please?
Yes.
The letter also discusses the value of the structure. The building inspector here is allowing the applicant to bring in an appraised value, not necessarily the assessed value, and that's a big difference. And that's at his discretion. So that letter does say that the 50% value, all that 49% valuation has to come through the building and the zoning officer as well. So I just wanted to add to that.
That's the existing house, though.
That is the current residence, yes.
Right.
Yes. Nothing for a garage.
Right, the garage is separate,
Right.
but that's for the existing house. Those were all issues for the building inspector, or zoning, or chief zoning officer. And, hopefully he has a chance to follow up with Mr. O'Donnell's chance to follow up with Ralph on that. But that is not within our purview.
You may have questions in the audience.
Sure. Any questions in the audience?
I don't really have a question, but.
Well, can you just, would you mind just come up here and state your name
Sure.
at the podium, please?
My name is Laura DeLucia. I live on Holland Road, 255 Holland. I am in a butter. One of the newer people in the area. I really appreciate how far this has come and everything that you've done based on the request from this commission. My only concern at this point is there still seem to be a lot of questions, and I wish there could be more answers and some accountability for, I've read that letter from Mr. O'Donnell, and I feel that in all fairness, even to the bakers, some of these questions should be cleared up so that, you know, they can move into the harbor and enjoy the same life that the rest of us do, based on, you know, what they would like to, how they would like to live their lives. But the assault on the pond has just been horrific. And that's really, I think, the issue before us, as well as the construction, is what's been happening down here in conjunction with the flooding from Mother Nature. It's just made things so much worse. But it appears as though there has been no regard for the pond, the habitat, the vegetation, the neighbors, and what's been going on in the area. So I don't know if that's something that comes from the building department enforcement or the builder himself, who I have heard is a wonderful builder, but what we've seen, they're driving right through the pond. It's unbelievable. And I think that is part of the reason why we're here tonight. And I just wish more of these questions could be answered. We fully understand that many of them belong over at the building department and zoning. We do understand that. But I wouldn't want to see any approvals or denials for the bakers, because it's just, there's too many ambiguities. And that's it.
I appreciate that, but, you know, everything that falls within the Wetlands Protection Act, he's addressed. One being the runoff, which now the runoff from that hill goes directly toward the pond. Now the runoff from the roof's gonna be captured into an underground infiltration system, which actually, I mean, not that, I mean, when you see it flood out, you have 2 feet of water.
No, I
it's
do
good.
appreciate that.
Yeah, but I mean, but everything that's conservation-wise has been addressed. The no connection to the septic system there, you know, to add another bathroom, you know, he addressed that by, that's no longer happening. But anything, everything we have enforcement power over has been addressed.
We've done 4 projects ourselves, more complicated than this, but who's accountable for what's going on with the pond? I realize that's a private road, but the pond is not private. And who's watching over that? What's happening down there?
I mean, with it overflowing.
Not with the flooding, but, I mean, there are giant, you know, truck tracks going right into the vegetation. I can't believe there aren't trucks that have fallen right into the pond. And it's, you know, we're there, I'm there all winter too. And none of the protection was up until April. This has been going on since September. And there's work going on there at night, which brings a lot of things into question. That there's things being dumped at night in the dark. Which just, like I said, leaves a lot of questions. And if I were the bakers, I want that cleared up as well.
But again, a lot of that, I think, have to be, we can go look at the tracks you mentioned in the pond, but as far as the building at night and the, you know.
Well, I don't have any problem with the building,
And
honestly.
No, the building, the work going on at night, or the conversion of the existing garage in the floodplain into living space, that's all things that are not in our jurisdiction.
Okay.
But we can go look at the track, we can take a ride out there this week and take a look at the, if there's any damage being done by trucks from this site or from a different site.
Yeah, and like I said, I realize it's a private road and there's a lot of restoration to be done by residents there, of which I am not one of those. I am not in the flood zone, I am not on that road. But I can appreciate what's, just supporting the neighborhood the way I know they would support, not only me, but they will support the bakers going forward too. So, Thank you very much for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I just need probably to be reminded, is the septic system, is that an upgrade of an existing system?
It is.
Okay.
All right, no other questions, look for a motion?
Could I just add through the chair that the pond is obviously flooding because of a lot of rain we've had, but also the plovers are on the beach, so there's no action we can take to circumvent the flooding that's occurring until the pluggers do their thing. So everybody is aware of the situation. I've given some permission tentatively to allow them to get in there after the pluggers make their nesting finalized. So I don't think that is within our control at this time. But as far as the roadway is time for the homeowners in that private road development to realize climate is changing and they need to do something about their roadway, and that most likely is raising that roadway in order to stop the seasonal flooding that occurs. That, again, is not a conservation issue. They are utilizing the road as access. They're not driving in the pond, they're driving in the pond that's overflowed its banks into the access way of Richmond Pond Lane. So the trucks are trying to stay within that area. Well, I would assume it's getting soft, as it's been constantly being flooded in the past 4 months, so without many days of it drying out. So that's just to reiterate some of where they stand on that particular flooding issue.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? All right, now looking for a motion.
So I move to approve the construction of a garage and the installation of an upgraded septic system in accordance with the plan, subject to the conditions in Chris's report.
Has this been approved by the Board of Health?
Pretty close, I believe it may have.
It has, but I can't say that.
All right, well, assuming it hasn't, Phil. Has this been approved by the Board of Health, you know?
I don't recall. So,
Well, we can make it subject to the Board of Health.
yeah, we can make it subject to Board of Health approval, sure.
All right. All right, do we have a second? Second?
I second it.
Thank you, Bart. All those in favor?
I
Opposed? All right. That's
mean,
unanimous.
I asked about the upgrade because you can't install a new septic tank or SAS in a velocity zone if it's not an upgrade under Title V.
All right, we have certificate of compliance for David Mendes, 225 Forge Road, SE 82407.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, certificate of compliance, David Mendes, 225 Forge Road. This is file number SC 802407. Report date is May 23rd, 2024. Site visit was also on May 23rd, 2024. The applicant has filed the request of certificate of compliance for work that took place on property a number of years ago located off Forge Road. The work has been completed and all areas have been stabilized. This is a kind of a small little farm area just below the McCaskey's building on Forge Road there. Recommendations: the Westport Conservation should issue a full certificate of compliance for file number SE 802407, as all work has been done according to the plan of record.
Questions, comments? Not a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, say Kevin? Motion from Jake, second, Kevin. All in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Okay, next we have John Cabral, map 29, lot 19, Gifford Road, SE 8156.
Continued, Mr. Chairman.
Till when?
I don't even, it's at their choice. They didn't pay for it, so I'm not putting it on the agenda until such time that the check arrives. We're kind of being forthcoming with them showing up with that, and they did not, so.
Okay. We've got, I'll call this last one again. We have, who is this? This is Gamache, yes. Thomas Gamache, notice of intent, 238, 242 East Beach Road to perform beach nourishment. Does anybody have Mr. Gamache? All right, so we'll move that. Do we have a busy meeting next meeting? 6:11?
6:25, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so we'll move that to 6:25:24. So we're looking to move Thomas Gamache, notice of intent, 238, 242 East Beach Road, beach nourishment to 6:25:24. Do you have a motion?
Motion continue.
Motion from Kevin, do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Jason, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous, Alan. All right. So we have,
The only do that, or do you wanna wait?
We'll do that last, so we get all this stuff done.
Okay, sir.
Get all this out of the way. All right, we have, what is this? Stamps, $936. Yeah,
It's unusual.
a lot of $5 stamps.
Arbitrage, they're buying early.
It's $9 to mail anything out.
Certified mail's $9. It's $8.80. Yeah, it is expensive. Yeah.
And the stamps just went up again, the cost of everything, so
You just want to see.
72 cents.
All right, so we're motion to pay for the stamps, $936. Motion from Jason, do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Jason, all in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous, so. WB Mason Office Supplies, $12.34 for a rubber stamp. Motion to pay. Do you have a motion? Motion from Jason.
Second.
Do you have a second from Jake, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. Where's my gavel? East Bay Times, East Bay Media Group, this is for advertising for hearings.
We need stamps.
$246.
Oh, see you
Motion, do we have a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Second.
Motion from Jake, second from Kevin, all in favor? Opposed? Passed unanimously. Minutes from 5/14/24, present. Myself, Kevin, Jason, and Phil. Absent were Burton, Tom, and Jake. So we have any changes in the minutes? If no changes, looking for a motion to accept the minutes from 5/14/24.
Motion to approve the minutes.
All right, motion from Jason.
Second.
Second from Phil. Is that Phil?
Yes.
Second from Phil. Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right. That's good. We have, what is this? Another W Masons, 4598. Some batteries. Okay. Exciting stuff. Do we have a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Motion from Jason, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Tom, all in favor? Opposed? All right, that's unanimous, you know? I have this to sign, it's for me. And last, more exciting, we're gonna discuss the enforcement order for Horseneck Beach. Susan done signing this. So these fine people can get paid. All right, so back in October, we had the Lost Lake Beach, who has a state, the DCR, has a beach management plan, as do all beaches in town,
Most.
or most beaches, I'm sorry, we're all supposed to have one, let me say that. And they sent us they came with a narrative, and the narrative discusses the access for fire and ambulance, and most of the narrative was about the parking lot. And they said the fire department wants unobstructed 20 feet, which there is a letter from the fire department which does state they like 20 to 22 feet of unobstructed roadway. So according to the narrative, the state wanted to resurface the road, and they also submitted a plan. And nowhere in here does it talk about removing a dune or sections of dunes and taking out all the great vegetation, the beach palms and everything else that's there. So after we were notified of that over the weekend, Chris asked them to stop, and further we contacted the DP, in which case we also issued them a cease and desist, and we'll be issuing an enforcement order tonight and according to the state, the Department of Environmental Protection's words, they want it replaced, they want it put back the way it was. And they can comply again if they want to widen the road within reason for the safety vehicles. They understand that, but what they've done is just, most everybody here has seen pictures, just egregious. Somewhere 20 to 30 feet in certain sections, and just decimating the vegetation, which is what makes the dune stable. So that's my narrative. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I just want to be forward about is that the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation did come before us, so this isn't something they did sneaky or anything. So I think there was a misconception on what it actually entailed to widen the access road, all honesty. And some of my comments that I gave the board may have influenced them in a negative way, and I want to apologize somewhat for that. But Mass DCR in the most recent weeks came across some money that was remaining in the fiscal year of 2024. They were moving forward very quickly to utilize this funding before the end of the fiscal year. This activity was what I thought was less intrusive as what we have seen in the photos. They in turn are returning a section of the parking lot to habitat for least terns and piping plovers, a 4-acre area. So in their defense, they were utilizing that as an offset. Regardless of that, we've seen the numerous concerns and complaints. So after the chairman advised me to call DEP, they actually spoke with one of the wetlands reviewers, but she did speak with the section chief, Masoon Reda, and also Greg DeCesar. They both advised that this activity, even if it was for public safety, seems to be very large in capacity, and if it was somewhat less egregious with maybe just a 5-foot widening, it may have been a little more allowable. But what they saw in the photos, they said that they don't even believe a general approval could be given with the magnitude and the amount of alteration that occurred. So with that said is where I talked to the chairman. So I'm asking you tonight is to ratify my issuance of an enforcement action via email to the Mass DCR's representatives. I did that last week in order to get them to stop the work, and they complied to date. So this was the west side of the access path that had alteration to the dune. Fortunately, we stopped because their intention was to continue to the east side and all the way to the West Beach Road section past the campground. So again, misconception. However, DEP still feels that it was a very large amount of alteration that numerous entities, MEPA and other entities, would have to be going through in order for them to even get that consideration and potential approval. So I advise them to restore the area back to its original condition, and I want to reiterate that is, you know, bringing the materials back and grading it to the point where this dune can recover. It can, maybe some of that root stock may be viable. At this point, I would say maybe not all of it because of it being piled in a large pile. So that is what the intention of this enforcement action is.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, in their narrative and their plan,
No,
they mentioned
Yep.
nothing about taking up.
I
20,
do totally
30 feet
agree,
of
and nor was there a copy of a plan provided within that document either.
Just
So,
want to make that clear to
again,
everybody
yep,
that that's not what we approved.
correct.
Was
So
not
I think
there.
there was a misconception, but truthfully,
And they had
It-
no engineer on site when they were doing work.
no, it was in a large 18-foot swath of dune, so I'll leave it at that. So I just ask that we make a motion to ratify the agent's action for the issuance of an enforcement order to Mass DCR at the Horseneck Beach State Reservation for the widening of the access way.
All right, do we have a motion for that? Anybody make any comments beforehand? Phil?
Well, I mean, I think what stood out in my mind was the fact that there was no plan that we would approve for every other site that comes up, an engineered plan that shows here's the, here's the work area, and here's where the activity is going to take place, and then if we wanted to condition it, we could condition it. I would say there was some, I guess I was not aware, or that I took it for granted that also that because it was coming over under this operation and maintenance plan, that somehow that was a way that exempted them from going through the normal filing that you would need to do a project of this magnitude. And I'm still a little bit unclear about that. That is why they wouldn't have had to file a notice of intent. And I thought, well, maybe it's because, you know, they've got this approved operation and maintenance plan which allows them to expand roads if they need to. And so that gave them cover. But the fact that, as you mentioned, you know, that there was no oversight on the implementation by a state agency who is in charge of protecting, you know, this particular resource area that is so valuable is just kind of shocking. Yeah. And so it just should never happen again this way. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned.
I don't think it's spelled out anywhere that the operation and maintenance plan supersedes notices of intent or whatever. It's just an assumption somebody made, but it should be explicit somewhere if they can do that. It probably isn't.
Well, right, but again, the problem is in the narrative, they never said exactly, they talked about what they could do in the parking lot, 9/10 of it, and there was a little blurb about the repaving the access road, but nothing to the extent of what they did. So I think it's a lesson learned in the future. We're gonna have to make them spell it out a little more clearly. And, you know, shame on them for not having supervision.
And I would stress that, you know, anyone on the commission who hasn't seen what was done and only saw it through pictures should probably go take a look at it and see. I think it's very egregious in nature. The fact that there's no oversight, no engineering, gave full freedom to the construction workers to do what they do. They're construction workers, that's what they do. But there was nobody there. And the fact that they had a paid detail of an EPO, a state trooper, and a Westport Police Department there for the entire extent of the work, yet had nobody else there, in order to move material all the way down Bridge Road, all the way up 88 to the parking lot, because allegedly they couldn't go down the access road because it would have disturbed piping plover habitat. I mean, come on. Think about that. And I was told the expense of that was in the tens of thousands of dollars extra to taxpayers. Again, you're not allowed to have a dog on a leash on that path from April 1 to September 15th, yet they can continue to do that, you know, sort of destruction of that habitat. So I think that's the concern we all had. And, you know, a simple widening of a scoop of 3 to 4 feet of the dune and adding 3 or 4 feet, because again, you're limited. It's like a funnel. You're limited by the gate at Bridge Road. You're limited by the width of Bridge Road. There are times where you can go on Bridge Road, have a car parked on there, and you're not going to fit an ambulance and not going to fit a fire engine. So what's the point of making that 30 feet wide if you can't even get in there in the first place? So that's only my comments, and, you know, it's unfortunate that it got to this point, and I hope that it gets restored. There are rumors that there are not going to do the restoration, but I hope that that's not the result in the long run.
How long did it take? How long were they doing this before somebody actually?
It was
Started on like a week, and yeah, I'd say they had at least a week into it.
They had probably about 3 business days of trucking, mining trucks, the size of mining trucks going in and out of there for about 3 full days, removing it. Then they went to a weekend and they came back on the Monday and did work, and then the Tuesday was, I believe, the enforcement order, or cease and desist, excuse me, at that point. So it was probably a good 4 business days they were working.
And they made it almost, actually right to Horse
They
Neck.
made it right to Horse Neck, to their primary dune there.
Anybody else? I know, Mr. Sullivan, you want to make a quick comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Sullivan, Cherrywood Lane. I come to you tonight as a neighbor of Horse Neck Reservation, in that capacity only. I was one of the people, I guess several people did file a complaint to you folks, and I want to thank the chairman Agent Capone for acting swiftly and stopping the activity that was going on. I won't belabor the point about a state authority just assuming that they can move ahead with a project like this. It's pretty clear that no matter what they do, it either has to be on their standing order of conditions, or they gotta come to you. And this is not the only time, the only instance of this activity. On this particular activity, I would urge you to think about, you know, one of the commissioners talked about the wasted money in moving the material in one direction instead of going directly around, instead of going directly to a destination. This problem could have been solved probably pretty quickly, a lot less expensively, with the purchase of a couple of emergency vehicles that could not only traverse the bike path, but also the beach, because if you're going to retrieve somebody from the water, you don't just have to drive on the bike path, you got to drive on the beach. So there might be other solutions here. But one thing I wanted to bring to your attention is this is not the only situation in which you have been bypassed. There's been material removed from Horseneck Beach, cobble removed from the beach in different efforts to try to straighten out the problem they have there. Long-term problem of the beach cobbling. And there's piles in the woods, there's piles in the parking lot, and there's piles in the parking area as well, the access area. If they're going to remove material, that's not in their standing order of conditions. If they're going to remove material from the beach and change the nature of the beach, then I think you really need to impose some monitoring conditions on what happens to these areas that have material removed.
I'd like to echo Mike and thanking Concom and Chris for getting on this and getting the cease and desist. Thank you for that. And I would really appreciate two things. One, I hope that we can be pretty firm. I don't know if we have any sway with the state, but we can be pretty firm in our ask that they bring the materials back and that they do the best they can to, I mean, it'll never be the same, but at least if the materials are brought back, we might be able to do some plantings, because right now, as you've seen, the area is devastated. And I'm hoping that some of you can help me better understand the concept of an offset and what they're doing down there in terms of they're going to take that far east part of the parking lot behind Bathhouse 3, I think it is, and turn it into some sort of habitat for terns. So they're digging out a living dune and they're trucking it all the way down, and they're going to then dump the living dune in the parking lot so that they can make another dune, a habitat area, thinking that the birds are going to love that, right? So, you know, how do they even think about stuff like that? I mean, how is that even logically possible that the Department of Conservation and Recreation would even, like, can you just help me wrap my head around why that would even be considered a logical possibility?
Well, I think making the bird habitat would be fine. I don't think that, you know, if it's not a lot, what about it, part of doing to make the habitat. So it doesn't, you know, making the habitat doesn't wash out or wipe out what they did to the dune. So making the habitat is fine, and they discussed that in their narrative about taking the parking lot, part of the parking lot out, and turning it into a habitat for the dune, which is great. But they never discussed that they were going to go about doing full sand to make it. So they you know, that's their reasoning for, or excuse or whatever you want to look at it for taking out the sand from the dune. But it's not really, it's not loud.
But it must have been their plan all along.
I don't know if, you know,
where else do you get the materials to make a pretend dune and habitat in a parking lot? I mean, do you bring it in from someplace else?
Well, that's you can't buy sand. I mean, I don't know how much, you know, that's a lot of sand, obviously. But
So they obviously had this plan all along that they were gonna take carpet all out of the living dune and dump it in the parking lot.
That's possible.
I don't necessarily think that because they were dumping stones, as Mr. Sullivan had pointed out, from the beach into that parking lot. So I think that this was an opportunity for them to take that and use it. I don't think there was foresight in planning that. I think they were putting rocks there, hoping it would catch sand, hoping they would be able to do it and turn it into habitat, but then they had the opportunity as part of this plan to use that material. And I agree with you, I had it in my notes, is, taking habitat dune to put it on top of a parking lot and say that that turns into habitat is probably not very ecologically sound.
Well, that's what we're thinking of this state, so yeah, I think it's a good idea to keep an eye on.
Thank you.
I mean, this may be speculative, but there's large areas of the beach now that get cordoned off, right? So they get cordoned off for nesting areas. And so the concept that they could create alternative nesting areas so that, given the popularity and the of the beach, that it wouldn't be totally given over, to nesting birds. So I don't know what they were thinking about, but just the concept that, well, we have to do, that in the interest of public safety, we're going to remove a certain amount of material. I'm not saying that they did that correctly, and that they're going to reuse the material to create additional nesting areas is not, I don't think that there was, bad intent. I think it's maybe there was bad planning and execution, but I think the concept was motivated, or partially motivated by kind of solving that tension between a lot of people want to come to a state beach, because there are not that many public beaches, and and nesting habitat. So.
Just one more comment, Mr. Chairman. There's a confluence of activities here. The universe is trying to tell DCR something. They don't need the parking lot anymore because nobody's coming to the beach. They only pay the other parking lot, the one on the west. Nobody's coming to the beach because there's cobble all over the beach. It's changed its nature for the last 20, 30 years. And then they're taking the cobble and sticking it in the parking lot. We really need to get them to look at the root cause of why the whole area is going to.
And to that point, private plovers don't use cobble as habitat. They're
Right.
sandy bottom shell area. So what are we trying to accomplish? I'm not the biologist.
Did we vote on the cross?
No, I don't think the
All right, we have
motion,
a motion to codify, what's that? Did we do that?
No.
Oh. To sign the enforcement order for the Mass DCR to restore the area of the access road.
I'll make a motion to issue the enforcement order.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. I think that's it for the night. Chris, you have anything else?
no, Mr. Chairman, that is all I have for you tonight.
All right, so you need a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask one more question on this though?
Sure.
The restoration process, how do we know if they're going to be moving forward on this?
I
Did they?
request a plan be submitted by the 25th of June.
Okay, thank you.
Nice. Cool. Thank you.
And if they fail to do that, then we'll have to have DEP get involved.
All the construction equipment's still there.
So it says nothing to do, I didn't want to ask this question before we issue the enforcement order. It doesn't apply to us, but with the expense of those trucks, shouldn't that have gone out to bid? Like, how much can they spend without a project having to go out to bid? It was tens of thousands of dollars.
Way more than that.
Yeah.
It's gotta be a lot
I don't know. And if you're on, they may be able to pick off the state bid list if someone's on the state bid list. And you bypass the whole big process. The rules on that, I'm sure they would just go hire this company. I'm sure they're probably on the bid list from the state.
They certainly don't want to turn it back to the general fund. So this is, again,
This was using a.
fast action. They was, within 2 days, had equipment there doing the work. once they found out. Then they found out subsequently that they could do the parking lot. So at first it was just a widening of the access road, and then they found out within the weekend transpired they could do the parking lot rehabilitation as well, so.
Any motion to adjourn?
Can I have one more question on that? The secondary project that he had on that was restoring the fence on Bridge Road, the entire length of Bridge Road, which would mean clearing dune and obviously earth. Is that happening?
Yes, I believe, but I wouldn't, I would consider that barrier beach, but I would consider that maritime forest, so it's part of a dune, it's the older section of the dune, but, I mean, it's perimeter fence, I don't, again, want to say it's not in our jurisdiction, but I think that falls under their operation and maintenance because they're restoring something that's pre-existing, but we can make, you know, I'll send an email that it should be done in a manner that isn't similar to the capacity of what was been done so far.
I think if you go and take a look at that fence, it's all overgrown. I don't see the necessity for it, but I mean, if you end up clear cutting and excavating, if it's 8-foot fence and you have 4 feet visible, are we digging all the way down and pulling earth back to get
I would
the-
assume they're gonna use equipment to pull the fence out, and if there's vegetation on it, the vegetation's gonna be torn out with it, but their intent is just to restore it at the same location. They're not trying to gain land or in any fashion. They're trying to protect their land because of obvious, we're not gonna lie, there's holes in the fence, and may it be for animals. I don't believe the animals cut the holes in the fence, but that's maybe what's using it, but.
But we're at a situation where there is a conflict of interest with neighbors, a town road, town property, and essentially a business that's trying to operate in the summertime that could be extremely impacted by this. So that's my concern. Yeah.
Well, again, this is, again, money spent, so we would have to be, again, right now, the enforcement order is for the widening of the access road. If the commission wants me to, you know, I could send an email, and I've talked to Jeff personally about it, that, you know, I understand it's a perimeter fence, but you should be doing it in a sensitive way and as much as you can. He's not putting openings in the fence as some people have asked. That's not the intention, so.
Why?
Based on their, why what?
Why, openings should be in that fence for animals to go back and forth, otherwise they can't get past.
Well, they can go by the gate, there's open, not necessarily on
yeah,
that part of the fence, but they can go right down the gate on Bridge Street, there's, I don't know, 15, 16 foot wide opening there. I mean,
There's other ways, again, we're not regulating that per se.
I think honestly, that, you know, based on how they handled this project, I think you should just tell them to put this on the plan and how they're gonna do it with the rest of the
Okay.
restoration. Because you know, I have no faith that they.
I would ask that you guys throw that into your motion, maybe, can we call back the motion here and make, reiterate on that motion, make a correction, just for the record, and then I'd be agreeing to that, no problem.
Who made the motion? So let's make a motion to codify the enforcement order on adding the no work to be on the fence, to be done on the fence until they can add that to their plan, due June 25th.
Yeah, perimeter fence reinstallation, have that inclusive on some sort of plan presented.
Yeah, only based on past work, I have a lot of faith.
Did you get that, Leon? So to modify the motion to include,
The reference to the fence and
Yeah.
the
Yes.
plans presented.
All right, who seconded that?
Kevin?
Second.
Okay, everybody else all in favor? All right, that's still unanimous.
All right.
And my only concern with that is there's been no discussion to any neighbors, business owners, or even Chris Gonzalez at the highway department,
But-
who had no idea that it was going to be happening.
But it's it's private, I mean, not using the town land to do it is
If that's the access
something,
point, if
right.
that's the access point.
But
because-
again, I don't wanna get into the ramifications of,
No.
because then they wanna do it from their side, it
Yeah.
could be even more amount of
I don't have a problem
activity,
doing it,
so.
but I can just picture
you know.
that with the 336 cat going down there and, you know, and
Lines
just
of road.
taking out, you know, the whole.
You don't even see the fence now, I have a feeling that.
You understand why it's being reestablished. There's money available.
Correct.
And other than that.
Correct.
They probably wouldn't be doing a thing, but because there is $13 million available,
Yeah.
that's what they're gonna do.
God forbid you don't spend it, give it back to the taxpayer.
Well, that would not be fiscally responsible.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous.